Hey YouTube, so I want to talk about a skeptical worry that arises from explaining false beliefs. So when we have true beliefs, we take it that the truth has played a role in why we hold those beliefs. So I believe that I have hands, right? I take it that this is true. I take it that it's true that I have hands. So I have this belief that I have hands. Now, I can ask myself, why do I have the belief that I have hands? And at least part of the answer to that is going to be, well, because there are these objects in the external world, light reflects off of those objects, light goes into my eyes, and then information is sent down the optic nerve, etc., etc. Basically, the fact that there are these hands out there in the world is playing a role in why I believe that I have hands. Now, notice that if the truth played no role in why I believe that I have hands, then that would seem to debunk my belief. So, if it were revealed to me that an evil demon is creating misleading hand-like appearances, I would give up my belief that I have hands. I mean, it might well be the case that I do in fact have hands. Maybe the demon is a sort of joker who's creating these misleading appearances, but then those appearances just also happen to be accurate. Maybe that's what's going on, right? So the fact that the demon is, manipulating my brain doesn't mean that he has induced a false belief in that respect. But the point is that if I did learn that, when I sort of open my eyes and I look at these hand-like things, if I learned that actually it was an evil demon creating those appearances, well, I would give up my belief that I have hands. Okay, so if the truth did play no role in why I believe that I have hands, I'd give up the belief. Now, let's think about false beliefs then. So let's say you're debating with a friend, she says, let's say, she expresses a belief that you disagree with, right? So she says minimum wage increases unemployment. And you say that it has no effect on unemployment. And now you ask yourself, well, why does my friend believe this? Why does she believe that minimum wage increases unemployment? Well, in this case, it's obviously not going to be possible for you to say that her belief was caused by the truth. You're not going to be able to explain her false belief that minimum wage increases unemployment. You're not going to be able to explain her false belief by saying, well, that's the truth. So what is the cause of her belief? Well, maybe it's going to be something else, right? Maybe it's her commitment to political libertarianism. Maybe this has led her to have a bias in favor of that kind of view, right? Maybe she's read biased sources. But essentially, you can cite social and psychological factors as the genuine cause of her belief. So you can say the reason why she holds this false belief is because of these social, psychological factors. But now suppose that you find yourself being convinced by her arguments, right? So you gradually change your mind and you come to hold the view that actually, yeah, minimum wage does cause unemployment. Now here's the key point. It's not at all clear that you coming to believe that minimum wage does cause unemployment, it's not clear that that makes any difference whatsoever to the explanation that you had previously given for why she held those beliefs. So yes, you now think it is true that raising minimum wage causes unemployment. And yeah, you believe this on the basis of arguments given by your friend. But again, what's the explanation for why your friend holds this belief? Well, previously you'd said it's because of these social and psychological factors, such as an ideological commitment to libertarianism. Well, that's still true. That's still the... In fact, you haven't... I mean, coming to believe that minimum wage causes unemployment has no connection whatsoever to the sorts of social and psychological factors that are influencing your friend's belief. You haven't made any new discovery that would undermine the social psychological explanation. So yeah, I mean, whatever social and psychological factors you had previously identified, they're still in play. So the general point of all of this, right? So the truth of a proposition obviously can't figure in an explanation of why people believe that proposition in cases where the proposition is false. right? Obviously. So when we ask, like, why do people falsely believe that P? Well, we have to give an explanation that does not appeal to the truth of P. Um, so, we sort of, we have to say, okay, people believe that P, and then we cite some other factors, X, Y, Z. But coming to believe, if we then change our mind, so if I then change my mind and I come to believe that P is true, that doesn't show that factors X, Y, Z are not actually what's caused these other people's beliefs. Because P is not really got anything to do with, in the case of, for instance, minimum wage causing unemployment, right? Whether or not minimum wage causes unemployment has nothing to do with, certain social and psychological factors that might influence people's beliefs. And it also looks like, when I, so in other words, it looks like, when I believe that P, if I believe that P is false, then I'm going to explain why other people believe that P is true by appealing to these social and psychological factors. Moreover, I can recognize that if I came to believe that P were true, then my explanation of why people believe that P shouldn't change. So if I can think, like, if I had believed that P, the explanation for why other people believe that P would still be factors X, Y, Z. My believing that P can't in itself make any difference to the explanation for why other people believe that P. It can't in itself make P more well supported by the evidence or anything like that. Now, the question is then, like, okay, so what do I then think about my own beliefs? I mean, here we're talking about the beliefs of others. Like, how do I explain the beliefs of others? But what do I think about my own beliefs over time, right? So again, we start out, I believe that P is false. Now, when I come to, so let's put it this way, right? At time T1, I believe that P is false. I will encounter people who believe that P is true. I must provide some explanation for why they've gone wrong. So I'm going to say this is due to factors X, Y, Z. Moreover, I know that I am not omniscient. I often make mistakes. And so I can also be subject to biases. So I can think to myself, it's possible that I might make a mistake. It's possible that, I might mistakenly come to believe that P. And if I were to mistakenly come to believe that P, then, I'm not special. I'm just like these other people. It would be due to factors X, Y, Z. If I were to come to believe that P, this wouldn't be due to the truth of P, because of course P isn't true, right? I mean, my current belief is that P is false. So if I were to come to believe that P, it would be due to factors X, Y, Z. It would not be due to the truth of P. Moreover, I know that if I were to come to believe that P, it will falsely feel as though X, Y, Z are not in play. It won't feel as though I'm motivated by social and psychological factors, because that's never how it feels, right? I mean, it never feels, and whenever you hold a belief, it always feels like, well, it's because the belief is true. It never feels as though the belief is motivated by these biases, by social, psychological factors like that. So again, so here's what I know beforehand. I know initially, I believe that P is false. If I were to come to believe that P, it would not be due to the truth of P, it would be because of factors X, Y, Z. Moreover, if I were to come to believe that P, it will falsely feel as though factors X, Y, Z are not in play. So now let's say, a little later, I change my mind and I come to believe that P. Well, how does my coming to believe that P change anything that I just said? It doesn't look like it changes anything, right? I mean, it looks like, the explanation for why people form this belief on the basis of factors X, Y, Z, that explanation is still in place. It's still the case that, when we form beliefs on the basis of factors X, Y, Z, it doesn't feel like that's what's going on. So is it seems like I'm in a tricky position here. It looks like I have to say that my own belief is actually that's actually motivated by factors X, Y, Z, factors which have nothing to do with the truth of the belief. Of course, it doesn't feel like it's motivated by factors X, Y, Z, but again, it never feels like that. So I wonder if there is a sort of skeptical worry. I don't think that this would. I mean, look, this is a worry that it's not exactly sort of radical skepticism. It's not general skepticism. I'm sure there are lots of ways out of this, but yeah, I mean, I guess the sort of general point is that there are certain situations where we are able to give explanations of why people hold false beliefs. And I suppose, and so what the skeptical worry is that when we're able to give explanations of why people hold false beliefs, if we then change our minds and come to think that those beliefs are true, the explanation for why people held that, what we initially thought was a false belief, the initial explanation for why people held that belief, it doesn't seem, there's no particular reason why that would change. But then it looks like we have a debunking explanation for our own belief, for what is now our own belief, right? So if I think that P is false, and I can give an explanation for why people believe that that appeals to social and psychological factors, then even when I change my mind and come to believe that P is true, I'm gonna have to. Nothing has happened to remove that initial explanation. So it looks like I'm still going to have to say, okay, P is ultimately motivated by these social and psychological factors, and that is a debunking explanation for my belief. I mean, I think that what's interesting about this, of course, is that I think we would often think that, like, if I can give an explanation of why people disagree with me, where I'm appealing to social and psychological factors, then that puts me in a better position. Like, I'm in an epistemically stronger position when I can give an account of why others disagree with me. And maybe that's fine as long as I don't change my mind. But then as soon as I change my mind, the fact that I initially had that explanation in terms of social and psychological factors, that now becomes a debunking explanation of my new belief. And maybe there is a skeptical problem there. So, that's all. Hope that made sense. Thanks for watching.